experiencing Conversations from the Darkside. Please stand by.
Happy Halloween, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this, the fifth and season finale of Conversations with Darkside for the year 2525. Not really, 2025. 2525, a very amusing song, no doubt, but the wrong year. I'm your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo Aaron, joined by a man who knows secrets that no one should know. Look at him, shifty as the day is long. It's Rob, Flack O'Hara.
What's going on? Happy Halloween, everybody. We got some people coming in here tonight. Either you're before, depending on your time zone, you might be before trick-or-treaters, after trick-or-treaters, but
next day.
It's Halloween. Yeah. It could be, yeah.
You know, if you're watching this years and years in the future, and by God, you better.
25, you might be.
Yeah, thank you. See, it all dovetails. We're coming tonight in at a later hour, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the countdown to midnight, Flack, the witching hour, I believe.
You know, I don't know. Because there's a difference between, some things people talk about midnight, right? Like midnight is the scary time, whatever. But then there's the witching hour is 3 a.m., right? Like that's when all the, the people on all these paranormal shows, 3 a.m. That's what I'm always curious about. Like, how do ghosts keep up with daylight savings time? Like, how do they always know it's 3 a.m.? I don't know, but somehow it works out for them.
All those questions were answered in Gremlins 2. If you just watch that fine film, that holds your hand through all these time change issues, Flack. Boy, we've got 2 short hours, and we've got so much stuff to talk about. It's very exciting. We've got content for days. But before we get too deep in the woods here, I just want to ask, because this is a rare opportunity. This is the first time we've ever done 5 Conversations to the Dark Side in 1 month. I will say, Flack, we've done more Conversations with Darkside than I'll probably do Coco shows this year, and each of these things were 4 times longer than a Coco show. So that's something. But we have a rare opportunity tonight, since tonight was Trick or Treat, where Rob lives, where I live. We actually get to talk about how Trick or Treat went, a very rare thing. So how'd it go, Flack?
Well, tonight here in the Midwest, or in Oklahoma, most of the night it was about 60 degrees. So I didn't even have a hoodie on or anything. We just kind of sat outside. I've got the 12-foot skeleton set up in the yard. We got red floodlights on it. We got everything set up. I started, it looked kind of sparse right before, it's always weird. Like, when you see a haunted house or something and you see it with the lights on, you go, this looks like crap. You just see plywood and wires and stuff, but you turn the lights off and it comes alive, so before it was dark, I was like, we need some more stuff out here. So I started drug McRib's skeleton outside and my Slimer, the Ghostbusters, so we got, stuff, and I got a little Bluetooth speaker. So I was playing, some of those old 70s sounds of haunted houses, and then for a long time, it was just me. So I was glad I enjoyed everything I had set up, because I thought this I might be the only person on the porch tonight, but one little kid came, a little Pikachu. He came, and then some other kids came. There was older kids. I mean, I would say the oldest was 13-ish. We didn't have any of the real old kids, but by the end of the night, I believe we counted just over 40 kids. So it worked out. I mean, that's not bad for these days. That's not bad.
I will say, just before I get into the trick-or-treater part of this, we've talked this before, Flack, but back in the old days, your old man wouldn't let you roll out the front door unless it was 7 o'clock, getting dark, sun going down. So sitting out there for the first hour, I sort of felt like a geek, but I will say that's where we had the majority of our trick-or-treaters came around, a lot of little kids and stuff. But man, this was one of those special Halloween nights where the air was crisp. The clouds were in this kind of weird pattern. The sun was setting down behind them. You could still make out some of the sunlight mingling with the darkness. And there was a breeze, and all those trees are those golden colors of red and yellow and brown, and it felt like a Halloween night. I mean, I really felt it. We had the music playing just like you did. I had myself out there in my Cthulhu face mask, and the boy was wearing his karate suit, and we were giving out candy on the front yard. And I thought to myself, this is the stuff right here. We had 19 trick-or-treaters until right towards the 7:30 mark. We had a couple trick-or-treaters come up, and I think I gave candy to the oldest trick-or-treater I've ever seen, because this looked like a gnarly old broad in a full body, kind of a flimsy, like, I guess, like, you remember like Tom and Jerry? Remember Tom? Picture Tom with just like the face cut out and an old blonde broad in there. And but by God, you know me, I love anyone that does the trick or treat, keeps up the tradition. So I gave out full bars all around this year, full bars. So did my neighbor. We weren't skimping on the 20. I ended up having 21 trick-or-treaters. I was looking over here at our good buddy TSI Matt, who said he had 200 to 300 trick-or-treaters tonight. Matt lives over near an elementary school, and he lives right downtown in a big neighborhood. His neighborhood is what my neighborhood used to be, which is where the people would bring their kids and just drop them off. You know, that shtick.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so he always has a huge ton of people over there, but not us. 21's still pretty good. That's about, I don't know, 5 or 6 more than we've had the last couple years. It's good to see people keeping the tradition alive, but I don't know. Sometimes I worry that we're not going to get. It's just going to go away.
Yeah, you know, I live about 2 miles, let's say, from a golf course. And so lots of people in my neighborhood and the next neighborhood over all have golf carts. So, you know, when I was a kid, like I remember trick-or-treating when it was like raining or cold, and my dad followed us in his pickup. Like he drove down the street, and we went house to house. And then when there was a stretch of no houses or something, or to go to the next block, we would get in a truck and he'd drive us to the next street. But he was in the car. Well, now they're all in golf carts, you know. And so, but one thing that I thought was fun is that a lot of the golf carts were decorated, like they had flashing lights or light up jack-o'-lanterns and stuff on it. So I thought that was kind of fun. I don't know what you saw on as far as costumes go. I saw on the news today, they said a list of the top 10 costumes expected for this year, and 1 through 5, I don't mean 5 of the top 10, I mean 1 through 5 are these K-pop, what is it, K-pop vampire hunters, is that what it is? I was like, I hope that's not what shows up in my house. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is, but I will tell you that I would say I probably recognized 75% of the costumes. I mean, like I said, we got a Pikachu, we got a lot of Ghostface killers. There was a teenage girl, I'm gonna say 12 or 13, and just kept giggling the whole time, and she is dressed as Ghostface from Scream. And I told her, I said, "You are the happiest serial killer I've ever seen." I mean, she just would not stop giggling, you know.
Maybe it's that Joker style giggling, you know.
Maybe, I don't know. My wife, among other things that she bought to hand out, was I don't know. I think she saw this on a website that said you have to have alternatives for kids that might have food allergies.
Yeah.
And so she bought a case of microwave popcorn. So we had all these things out there. We were like, you know, and I would ask the kids, I'm like, do you want candy bar? Do you want Oreos? Do you want popcorn? Nobody picked popcorn. And so everybody just got popcorn as a second item. If you want
You mean
candy
like
bar,
just a package with a microwave popcorn bag in it, or did you actually pop the corn?
No, just the bag that you would take home and make later, you know. And then there was the only one, usually the adults, I don't know, that's always an awkward thing, right? Like when the adults, if they come over there, I mean, I don't care, you know, if they get something, because I'm supporting them because they're supporting their kids, right? But there was one dad, and I was like, "Hey, does Dad need something?" And he goes, "Man, I'll take some sugar, man. He goes, "I'm tired."
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, I could hook you up, you know." But yeah, you know, I thought it was a good night. It's hard. I think the time has shifted, like you said. We saw kids out at 5 o'clock. It's like 5 o'clock here is just like noon. I mean, it's like straight up daytime. And I saw kids out at 5, and then, I mean, at 8:15, 8:20, it was like someone turned off the Halloween switch. I mean, the streets got quiet. Boom, it was over. And I was like, man, when I was a kid, that like we were just getting started. Like we would go until every porch light was off.
Yeah.
I will tell you, my personal highlight of tonight, and it was just a tiny, tiny little thing. But my neighbor had his porch light on. The people across the street had their light on. So people would come up, park their golf cart, and then the kids, they'd go house. And this cart pulled up, and there was 2 or 3 kids on it. And I heard this kid yell, "Oh, let's go to that house first." And then they came running. They saw the skeleton. They saw the other stuff, And so part of it was just that they saw the house. They got excited, but it was just that excitement that the kids had, like seeing them run. Like come across the lawn and stuff, with their little things. I thought that was pretty cool. So I enjoyed that.
I love it. I saw some witches. I saw cats were a popular choice. I saw this family, and one of the guys was dressed like a banana. I've seen a couple of bananas, but one was an inflatable banana. So it was this big, tubby banana. It was real cute.
Yeah.
But I'd say we probably had a quarter of our guests were probably well past their normal trick-or-treat range. I mean, well past. But listen, I load up everybody because, what the hell? If I could go out and trick-or-treat, I'd do it. If I could get away with it. I miss those days. And I will say, I mentioned how beautiful it was out, and as I peered into that kind of orangey, dark sky, and you could just barely see the trick-or-treaters down the road, coming up the hill. It's exciting. It's a feeling you only get once a year. I feel bad for people that no longer partake. I mean, there are any number of reasons that you could take your kids to a mall or a town hall or a church or whatever. That's all well and good, but there's a lot to be lost if we don't keep up the tradition of trick or treat. I think it's outstanding. I enjoy it every year, and hopefully for many years to come. With all that,
let me tell you real quick. So someone sent me a meme earlier today, and they said, "I bet this is Rob's house," and it was a video, a reel, something that is floating around, and it's this dad, and he was like, "You bet I give extra candy to kids in Star Wars costumes," and he was like, and he said, "You get extra candy," and he said, "If you're Boba Fett or Darth Vader, you get twice as much," and he said, "You come as Bib Fortuna." He goes, "I'll give you the whole thing," And so I was joking to my wife about that before the trick-or-treaters came. I said, "Listen, kids come in Star Wars stuff, they're getting extra stuff. Not one Star Wars costume all night.
No,
not one."
This might be the first year that's happened. Yeah. Listen, you know who to thank for that. Because they've stuck dud after dud out there. Yeah, that's the power of many, if you know what I mean, to kill Star Wars dead. Now, we've got a bumper crop of assembled news macabre for your entertainment and enjoyment. Flack really got some good stuff, and we also got some great submissions from some folks in our Discord. We appreciate that, everybody. We got some action this week. Flack, why don't we get into the first story you've got here?
So this is a headline that I saw that says, they wrote it in a way that that once you read it, I thought, well, I mean, you could definitely flip the script on this story. So the headline said, new studies show that Americans doubt ghosts or paranormal activities exist. So this is the results of a Gallup poll that was taken, and it said the majority of Americans do not believe that paranormal concepts, generally speaking, do not exist. They don't exist in ghosts. And again, the headline says the majority of Americans. Okay. 48% do. So, yes, technically 52 is a majority. I mean, 50.1% or whatever is a majority, right? But I think the story here is that 48% do. And they went down and broke down. So that 48% of Americans believe in something, like some sort of, paranormal event, paranormal, and then they broke it down further, right? And so it said, this is Americans. 39% of Americans believe ghosts exist. 29 believe in telepathy. And then almost everything down, it said the numbers really drop, and they do really drop. They're all basically 25%, okay? 25% of Americans believe that you can talk to the dead, which I think will come up later in the show, possibly tonight. 25% of Americans believe in clairvoyance. 24% believe in reincarnation, and 24% believe in witches, which I thought was kind of strange the way they worded that, because like witches are real. Like there are people that identify as witches, right? So that should be 100%. So again, they downplay these numbers. They're like, hey, only 25 people believe in clairvoyance. That's 1 out of 4. Like that's also the average number of people in a household. It's like one person in your house believes in clairvoyance. So they tried to downplay the numbers on this, but like I said, if you look at it from the other angle, I was pretty impressed by these numbers.
I came across the article myself, and I looked at it, and I was a bit surprised because, boy, I bet you even 10 years ago these numbers would be a third larger, especially the paranormal question. Back when ghost hunters and stuff were killing it on TV. Maybe harsh realities have yanked people back from the belief in this sort of thing. It's funny, I listened to a lot of old radio shows from the 70s and early 80s, CBS Radio Mystery Theater among others, where telepathy, clairvoyance, that sort of thing is given much more credence and taken much more seriously. Like it's well within the realm of possibility. Of course, at the same time they took the Bermuda Triangle seriously, for example. A lot of this monster, like that seemed more possible. Now, and maybe 30, 40 years of science pecking away at this stuff has slowly weakened the belief in it. I would wager that's what it is, if I'm honest. I think society has grown to the point where, this stuff's been in the public eye for so long, and there's really not a ton of evidence that has built up over the years, and I think maybe that might be part of it. I noticed they didn't have anything about UFOs here, for example, which I'd be interested to see where that would have fell into it. Do you think these numbers are accurate? Like
I said, the number 25% sounds low, right? But then I think if I go to a work meeting and I sit around a table with 8 people, that's 2 of the 8 people at that table, right? Yeah. So you put it like that, it doesn't seem that low. I think right now what we've seen, and this is probably since, I don't know, about the last 5 years, we've seen this huge trajectory of true crime stuff. True crime is huge. Yeah. It's on TV all the time. There's a million true crime podcasts. And so I think when interest in true crime goes up, I think interest in paranormal stuff goes down. But they swap all the time, So give it another 5 years or something, and let's rerun this poll and see what the numbers look like.
Very good.
Hold on. I predict they'll be higher. I'm one of the 25%. See,
there you go. Look at you. There's clairvoyance and telepathy, everything right there rolled into one.
Right into one.
And partially a witch. This next one here I found intriguing, a flight that you dug up. Did aliens spy on our nuclear tests? This is as timely as today's headlines because our president just announced that we're going to resume nuclear testing here in America. What did you get out of this article, my friend?
So this is a really interesting article. What these scientists have been doing is they went back and they looked at photographs that were taken through telescopes, but also just regular, just normal photographs of the sky. But a lot of this stuff came from telescope photos. And we have, 50, 60 years, whatever, of photos, longer probably, that have been taken through telescopes, right? So we have all this data to look at. And what they found was there's a section of these photos, there's a range, and this range goes from about 1949 to 1957. Where they were looking at these photographs, and what they would see in the photographs, again, these are like telescopic photos of the sky, is they see these flashes up in the sky that look just like a star, but they're only there for a single frame. So, these things take like burst photos, things like that, but there'd just be one, frame of film that would have these little flashes. Now, today, we get this phenomenon today. And normally what it's attributed to is light from the sun or, reflecting off of something hitting a satellite. But this predates satellites. There were no satellites during this range, right, when they were looking at these photos. So there's no real explanation. Now, here's where it gets kind of weird. When they started analyzing these photographs, all of these things happened within a day or two of when we were testing nuclear weapons. And so, but they can literally look at these photographs and say, like they've got it down to the date, right? And they say like, during this month or whatever, that we don't have any of them. And then there would be like a nuclear test that we know the date of that. And then a day or two after that, they keep seeing these weird flashes in the sky. So like I said, it predates satellites, so that's not what it is. Basically, they don't know what it is. So I think this is pretty interesting. They said they ran the numbers, and these flashes, they said the flashes were 68% more likely to appear within 24 hours after a nuclear test than not. So, 68%, that's more than chance, so,
yeah.
So there's something to this. I don't know. Is it, one of the theories is that, if there are aliens and they're advanced enough to be zipping around the universe or, between dimensions or whatever in spacecraft, if there's a planet that's testing nuclear weapons, they probably want to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
So, that's, a pretty prevailing theory. The scientists say, well, that's probably not UFOs. And then you ask them what it is, and they go, I don't know. So,
yeah.
They don't have a theory, right? So, but it's a real interesting story.
If you think about it. Now, let's pretend that there are intelligences in space that have superior technology. It makes sense that they would want to know what those maybe those explosions mean something to them. Maybe that's maybe they've been monitoring us and they're like, geez, are these idiots going to blow themselves up? Like, what is this? It's a fascinating thought. It's sort of scary, because I hope they're wrong. I hope we're not going to blow ourselves up. But it's an interesting thing, and the fact that they've been able to document that many, it's. I would love to hear what people that don't believe in UFOs think that is. Like, is there some sort of energy residue, or is there a molecular event that happens that we don't know about that takes place well after the fact, or who knows?
There could be some just normal, like maybe it's the stuff that's released during a nuclear reaction that gets up in the sky or some sort of particle or something like that. It could be, but the fact that all these scientists don't know, like that's a little strange.
You know what else is strange? Our good buddy Dave, Wild World of Retro, just mentioned, I've been having a reoccurring dream where aliens are taking over the Earth and I am the freedom fighter trying to restore humanity. I think maybe I could do it. It'd be our good buddy Dave, because he could print some stuff up with his 3D printer, and that'd be the end of the aliens. Maybe some kind of guns or something. This next one, Flack, I caught this one myself, and this is kind of creepy. It's another one. This is another one here. UFO Tracker shows thousands of eerie underwater objects lurking all along the U.S. coast, the East Coast in particular. What's the scoop on this one?
So there's an app called Enigma, and what this app is for people to track UFOs. It's relatively new. It just launched like in 2022, and so you can download this app, I guess, and you can, if you see a UFO or something, you can report it on this app and put in your description, and that way they can use the data to track like where sightings are happening. You know. But in August, they got over 9,000 reports of objects that were all reported within 10 miles of U.S. shorelines.
Yeah.
Right. So now a lot of these, or some of these, were caught on video. People have caught some of these things. There's video of them, but there's this one video that's been floating around, and it is, you can see these weird green lights that are traveling around under the surface of the water. They're in the ocean, and that video was shot during this time where all these things are being reported. So
particularly awesome looking and bizarre.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's weird. And on top of that, a lot of the people that were reporting these things said they have seen these, whatever they are, craft, spaceships. Some people think maybe drones, which is probably just as scary, to be honest with you. But they are able to fly in and out of the water at a high rate of speed. Now, I'm sure that at a certain like terminal velocity, when you hit water, it's the same as concrete. I mean, water just, so when, a lot of times when if there's an airplane accident or something and it hits water, the airplane will disintegrate. People think, oh, you just go in the water, but that's not what happens.
Yeah.
And so for these things to be flying at a high rate of speed and go into the water, and even more impressively come out of the water, that's pretty weird. So again, this is just a like a crowdsourced app where people can report these things. So really strange that we're getting all these reports at the same time. And again, it's at a time where there are, things going on the coast. There might be testing. There might be other things going on. And so to see all these craft, whatever they are, but to get 9,000 reports of them all at the same time of people seeing these things going around in the ocean, flying in and out, I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm gonna kind of bop over your next piece because this one here dovetails nicely. This report, UFO in Russia causes scientists to react. I saw this one myself the day it came out, and here's a green sort of luminescent shape that flies through the air, and there's video of this one as it flies through the air. Now, that could easily be a meteor or something coming back down to Earth. It's got some of the telltale signs, but the coloring is quite strange on that. And it's when I saw the other video, the picture of the underwater green light. It's the exact same sort of green that this is. It's very strange. This isn't the first time we've seen something like this over the skies of Russia, but it is strange, just a weird kind of blazing fireball. This came down just a few days ago, October 27th. So one would wonder if there's any connection. What do you make of this this amount of sightings on the coast? Do you think there's a rational explanation for this?
Well, if you want to go like rational things or whatever, you gotta wonder what's happening with drones and stuff right now, and also the fact that our government is not talking about it. Just like, remember when we had all those drone sightings? What happened to all the drones? Remember last year, it's like there was drones around airports. There was drones.
Oh yeah.
Yes, everywhere, and then they go to the Air Force and they go, it's probably something. Like, that's not the right answer, so that just tells me that they probably have an idea of what's going on, and so, but this one's weird because they're pretty tight-lipped. Like, they're not saying anything about it right now, but I know that there's a certain amount, like you go out, 3 miles or whatever from the shore, and then all of a sudden you're in international waters, right? So these things have been spotted within 10 miles. So if you were flying a drone from another country or something like that, and you wanted to test and see how close you could get to our border, without, getting blown up or something. Like, I could see that happening, but also if I were, some sort of, otherworldly craft or something like that, I might do the same thing instead of flying over Las Vegas or New York City where you're going to have 10,000 people see you or 10 million people see you. Maybe you sneak up through the water, come up there and do your spying on us that way. So I don't know, man. But like I said, both that, there's throughout history, you got these two kinds of UFO sightings, right? Like you got, whoever that, what was that guy's name? Ed Walters, the guy that was in Gulf Breeze in Florida. And he kept taking all these UFO pictures, and then everybody else in Gulf Breeze was like, we didn't see it. He goes, maybe I just see them. Okay, so that's one kind, where there's always that thing where it's like just one person is seeing them.
Yeah.
Things like that. This thing in Russia, like hundreds of people recorded that with their phone. So I mean, there was something that really flew across the sky of Russia. And again, this is one of those things where scientists scientists in Russia said this is absolutely not a UFO. And they went, awesome, what is it? And they go, I don't know. Like it could be part of a satellite breaking up, could be a meteor, could be a thing. Okay, if you're guessing, if you're just like, well, here's a list of 82 things it could be, well, it could be a UFO. That list is 83 things. Like if you don't know, then who knows what it is?
Plus, that's what worries me the most. It's like, I mean, because they don't have a definitive answer with all the technology at their disposal. And when they're just beating around the bush, you're like, okay, what is it really? I'm not saying there's no possible way they know, but they could give you a percentage guess on the most likely things, opposed to just going like, that didn't cut it. But how it is.
When a scientist comes out and he's like, here's what we think it is, and then he spins the thing that looks like a twister play thing, and he goes, I don't know, maybe it's one of these. Like, no, if you have no idea and you're just rattling off, like their list of things of what it could be is literally a list of everything that's ever fell out of the sky. Well, yeah, that's a good list. I mean, it could be any of those things, but I want a little bit more evidence from them.
Yeah, we've got a whole, just a plethora of UFO stories this week, but just to break it up a little bit, you've got a weird one here out of Pueblo, Colorado. What's the scoop on creepy unknown critter?
Okay, this is just a strange video, and this is floating around. Someone sent this into a local news in Colorado, and they ran it on the news. But someone was driving by and they saw something moving around, and so they shot this video of this thing, and then everybody goes, "Oh, that's what is it?" And so people have been trying to figure out what this thing is. Of course, the video is not very long. You can see him kind of using his hands, which makes it seem like maybe it's a raccoon. A lot of people have said maybe it's a possum. Apparently in this area, there's wolverines. And so some people have said maybe it's a wolverine. Who knows? But and then if you watch the news broadcast, it's pretty funny because one of the first things they guess is chupacabra. So, maybe that's what it is. So,
Geez, what the hell is that? I don't even know.
No, and so, there were a lot of, back in the day when people were reporting actually seeing things like chupacabras and stuff, a lot of times it was wolves or animals that had mange or rabies, or so they didn't look quite right, so there's something that's not quite right about whatever this is. I can tell you, here's what I would say. Here's my scientific input. I don't want it on my front porch.
How would you describe this for our radio listeners? How would you describe what we're seeing here? I mean, it's something at the top of the stairs in a stairwell, using its four legs, but it's got its two paws are apparently with they can use it to grab stuff maybe like a raccoon, but it's got short hair. It's almost like the head of a baby goat. It is a bizarre looking creature.
I mean, it's like if you crossed a raccoon and a monkey and then shaved it. I mean, that's what it looks like. It's just this weird short-haired little thing with anytime that an animal is like using its paws for hands, that's weird. I don't like that, because I think if they could do that, they could probably work a taser. So I don't, you know, I don't want them taking over.
We got some interesting guesses here in the chat. Of course, a chupacabra, a chupacobra. That sounds scary. A mangy anorexic sun bear, a sloth on crack cocaine. None of these sound good, frankly.
No, nothing. None of those do I want to climb into the ring and see at the other side.
No kid. How bizarre. Hey, listen, we can't identify it, so I call that a win. We have no idea what that is, man. I wonder if that's ever been identified. I mean, I'm looking here on the someone on the newscast mentioned that it could be a baby Colorado Sasquatch. You know, so I mean, I don't know what to say about that. That is a bizarre one there. That's a good find, Flack.
Yeah, who knows what that thing is?
That's real strange.
You know what I like about it is that you know, we were just saying last week that like with the rise over the past couple decades of cell phones, like we should have 1 million videos of Bigfoot at this point, and we don't. You know, and it's a little heartbreaking to me because you know, it makes me think, well, maybe there's not as many Bigfoot out there as we used to think, you know.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, if there's weird animals out there, why aren't we seeing them on Ring doorbells? Why aren't we seeing them? Well, guess what? We just did. Like, this is a weird thing.
There it is.
So there's stuff out there.
I love that. Jumping back feet first into the UFO side of town. This is one, just the headline caught my eyes. It's called UFO. Bombshell footage shows mystery UFO-like aircraft being tested in secret experiments at U.S.-based skunk works. And they include video in this one. This comes from the Lockheed Martin's Helendale radar testing facility. And if you take a look at this video, it's quite interesting. They've got some sort of craft that I watched this video with sound like this. I saw another version of the original video, and a guy shoots this for like overnight. And this, if you're listening at home, picture like a long white arm, like just a straight piece of something holding aloft at an angle a black craft, basically. And but this whole apparatus will fold up and down because the guy watches them fold this thing to the ground and then fold it back up. The item in question that's been held aloft is sort of a black, almost like, I hate to say it, but it looks like a pie pan almost with a kind of a blue center. What do you make of this one, Flack?
Man, I mean, it's so weird, right? I mean, obviously it's real footage. It's so weird. Now, the fact that it's out at Skunk Works, I mean, that's where they test weird stuff, right? So, I mean, but, you know, you can go back to like the old Bob Lazar stuff where, you know, he said, hey, we're building UFOs, but we're building it based on technology that we got from, you know, crashed UFO or things like that. I mean, I'm sure there's smart dudes that work at Lockheed Martin, you know, so, I mean, maybe they've come up with this thing, whatever it is. I mean, it looks like a UFO either shooting down a ray or riding on top of a tornado or something. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's weird.
It's been speculated that is a metal or some sort of material arm that is maybe this is for, like, I don't know, airflow purposes, or I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, it's real weird, man. This is the kind of stuff I love, and much like the chupacabra we just looked at. You know, if you can't identify what this is just straight up, but it doesn't set right with you, then you got something. That means you got something.
Yeah.
And Lord only knows what this thing is, but you never know. I mean, let me ask you just point blank: has our government encountered technology unbeknownst to the rest of the world, and are they implementing it? Your thoughts? And you've got three seconds.
Yes.
That's it. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many times where, I mean, if you think about like the evolution of like the airplane, right? Like somebody, well, not somebody, the Wright brothers, but somebody came up with the idea of an airplane, right?
Right.
And then we watched it evolve. It's been evolving over 100 years, right? We saw bigger propellers. Then eventually we saw jet engines. We saw so we've seen it evolve, right? But there have been some things that show up, like this thing right here that we're looking at, like that didn't evolve from something. Like there wasn't something that looked like that last week too. It's like it just came out of the blue, right? And we've seen stuff like that before, so. It does make you wonder, I don't know. It makes me wonder.
Yeah. Here's another one. Again, we're going back. Well, this is not really a UFO, but it's a known flying object, but it's doing weird stuff. You'll recall a week or two ago, we mentioned a story about the 31 Atlas, which is a incoming something coming to Earth.
Yeah.
It's been speculated that it was an asteroid or whatnot, but now scientists are starting to wonder because the 31 Atlas object has began to do erratic maneuvering that they hadn't expected. This article refers to a black swan event. A black swan event, as I understand it, is something doing something that has a not normal chance of happening, and there have been speculation that. And this is, who knows where the speculation derives, but between 30 and 40% chance that this thing is not a natural object and is being maneuvered through the sky. So it's, and of course, they name certain scientists. It's not in our vision to go through and fact check these gentlemen, but it is an interesting thought that these things could be that something is heading toward Earth at a breakneck speed that may or may not be a natural occurrence.
Weren't they saying that might have they were predicting like the end of the world this week based on these things last week? And so now I feel like it's like when I was on the bus as a kid and somebody would act like they're going to throw a ball at you, and then they went, psych. Like maybe this is aliens just playing trick on us. They're like, hey, we're going to hit you with an asteroid. Psych.
So they're screwing with us? That's all we need. We're getting trolled from space. That's the worst.
They built all the good stuff. Now they just got time to kill.
We mentioned earlier that our buddy David Z had a dream that he was going to save the world from aliens. He may want to do something to get into this study. This is the world's largest dream database that's being put together, has been put together. It's got almost 3,000 sleep recordings from 500 plus people, creating a large collection of brain activity paired with dream reports. And they're going to try to use this information to get a better understanding of the unconscious mind, what's happening when you sleep, and what parts of the brain are firing off. What do you think about this, Flack?
I don't like any part of it.
Really?
Why.
Why is that?
Yeah.
I got to hear
this. Because I watched a news story about a month ago, and it was an experiment, and basically what this experiment was showing is that if you hook up enough electrodes to somebody's head, the thought of saying words is the same as saying words as far as your brain is concerned. So if I think I'm going to say, hey, Aaron, how you doing today? But I don't actually say it.
Yeah.
It's the same in your brain, whether you said it or not. Okay. And so they said they can hook up electrodes to people and tell what they're about to say, even if they didn't say it. Okay. I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
Because first of all, my head is like a fireworks display in a tornado. I could walk down the street and be like, hey, I like ice cream. Watch out for that crack. I'd like to kill that guy. Ooh, that car's cool. It's just like a random firing synapse 24/7, right? So I don't like this whole thing, whether it's the speech, analysis, or whether we're looking at brain stuff or dreams, right? Now, I love dream analysis. When I was a kid, I had this little paperback book that I got from a bookstore, and it was like, what do your dreams mean? And it had all the different little things. If your teeth are falling out, you're afraid of losing something, and all the kind of metaphors that appear in dreams and things like that. And it inspired me as a kid to keep a dream journal. And so for a long time, I would write that stuff down. Of course, I think if you were going to do it today, I'd do it on my phone. The problem is that if you, they say that the part of your brain that does dreaming, it basically also paralyzes your movement, right? So that when you're dreaming about, what was Dave dreaming about? Where he was taking on he was being the last fighter for
the aliens, yeah.
Right. Well, if your physical motion doesn't shut down, then you're going to be swinging your fists and fighting aliens in your dreams, right? So they say one of the theories is that the part of the brain that does that turns off your motor skills is where the dreaming part happens, right? And so when you wake up and you start moving, it gets rid of the dreams, which is why when you wake up, the dream starts to fade or whatever. And a lot of people say if you want to remember your dreams, you're supposed to stay real still and try to remember what you're dreaming. So if you're doing that, they actually have a lot of phone apps where you could do that. And I tried that, and every morning I would be saying the strangest things, and then my wife would go, "What are you talking about?" I mean, I'd wake her up every time, and I'd be like, "I took 4 monkeys on a date, and we drove around in a convertible." She's like, what are you talking about over there? We drove to go see a chupacabra on this front porch. So I don't know, man. I don't like I like keeping crazy thoughts in Rob's crazy brain, right? Like, I don't need the stuff now. Like, I get it. They want to analyze dreams. I like dreams. I like all this stuff, right? But I mean, this is what I worry about. What happens when they go, well, guess what? This guy has dreamed about choking his wife like 10 days in a row. Then what do they do with that data? Like, are you in trouble because you keep having this dream? Or, what are they going to use this data for? That's my concern.
Well, that is a fair assessment of it.
I would like to say this, by the way.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to say that I do not dream of choking my wife. It was just a off-the-cuff example. But
sure, that's what I'd say too if I did dream about it.
Or how about this? How about you have a dream every day of, eating chocolate cake, right? And they go,
I do.
You know what? Yeah, so did Charles Manson. And so now you've got this connection where you go, hey, this guy's having the same dreams Charles Manson's having. Maybe we ought to look at this guy too, So I don't think anything good could. I think, no matter how weird your dreams are, when you wake up, you just say, I just dreamed I was flying through the clouds. Just don't tell anybody your dreams.
To be fair, Charles Manson was a hate-filled, hate-speaking scumbag. That doesn't mean he can't enjoy a piece of cake. I think that's a bridge too far now when it comes to old Chuck, because, I mean, everyone, even the scummiest of bags, can enjoy cake. But, since we're talking about a horrible death-dealing scumbag, here's an article that came in from TSI Matt, and this hits close to home, man, because this right here, Letters to Death, the true story behind West Virginia's first serial killer. This just popped up this week on the local news. In the summer of 31, in Quiet Dell in Harrison County, West Virginia, a man named Harry Powers went out and did a serial killing straight there on the thing. He dropped the hammer, killed kids. It was a nasty fellow, and was ultimately taken care of. And I want to also get in, I also looked this up on Teresa's site. So this guy killed kids. And so what do we got here? These are the slain dolls of the children. These are the dolls of the slain kids. This is an actual news article that Teresa that dug up. So how creepy is that? This guy was nasty. A nasty boy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get too deep into the woods because this is some kind of troubling stuff that if you're not really into the serial killer thing, you probably wouldn't want to hear too much about it. But trust me, if you look this guy up, he will curl your toes. That is West Virginia's first serial killer, And by the way, he wasn't from West Virginia. I think he was from Norway, but he had transplanted over here. So, yeah. But the fact that these cops gathered up the kids, that I want to thank Teresa's Haunted History for that. I mean, that's a creepy photo right there. If you're, it's just a couple cops with a bunch of baby dolls. If you're listening to the radio, you know, nobody wants to have a serial killer in their history, but I'd wager every state's had one by now. I mean, surely, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, and most of them at one point or another have dreamed of cake. So I don't, you know, like I said, I don't want to be in that. Cake? I don't want to be in that database. I'm just saying.
What are you trying to say? You sound like you're a serial killer. You're not saying anything, Flack. Your silence says.
I was thinking of cake.
Yeah, right. You know.
I don't. You know, there's been a lot of serial killers. You know, and I don't know them personally, but watching these TV shows, and a lot of them. Right. A lot of them do keep souvenirs. They keep something, you know. I watched one where they kept finding bodies and it was women, and every woman they found was missing one shoe, you know, like that sort of thing. So I know that happens. But dolls are creepy just by themselves. Yeah. You know, I mean, you go into some house and there's all these dolls, like, I don't know, they're just kind of unsettling. They're all staring at you, you know. So keeping that as kind of like it's like creepy times creepy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about it, but we touched on some serial killers. I think it was last year in an episode, and we've talked about doing a full episode on them. And if we do, I'm definitely going to bring this guy back and get more deep into it, but we'll give a little warning before we get too far down into that, because I know some people find that upsetting, including me sometimes, but it's something interesting to get into. This next story, we had several stories submitted by our good buddy Scooby. He lives out in California, and he used to live in Hawaii. And this first one here, Flack, it's the mysterious California Canyon is known for eerie paranormal activity and a 65-foot waterfall reaching an hour from L.A. I would suggest nothing creepier than being L.A. could occur. But if you want to get spooked out from a paranormal perspective, you know, I read this article, and it's the old standard. In Black Star Canyon, there was a massacre of Native Americans. That's never good, you know. And so you hear people hear disembodied chants and war cries. People also report seeing the ghost of James Gregg, who was shot and killed at a ranch over an unsettled monetary dispute. If every one of those guys haunted the world, we'd be swimming in ghosts. Yeah. There's also a Mexican legend of Leorora. I'm trying to pronounce his name. La Lorna. That's it, La Lorna. A weeping woman from Latin American folklore that haunts the bodies of water in search of her children. There's also, and you've got to have this at your weird cult zone, there's rumors of cult activity in the 1980s stemming from ritual bonfires and other occult nonsense, because it's the 80s, brother. That's how they did it back in the day. Looks pretty nice. Now, you've been to California more than a few times. Have you ever made your way out to the desert? Out near L.A., you know, that area between L.A. and, I guess, Nevada?
I have. I drove from Las Vegas to the California border, drove right through Death Valley, all that area. I mean, a whole lot of nothing. I think if you're wanting to, you know, have secret cult meetings, it's a great place to do it. I think you go out in the middle of nowhere, and, I mean, just a few miles off the road, you are off the map, off the grid. You know, is it me, or is there part of you that immediately wants to go to this place?
Well, I mean, sorta. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. I mean, come for the waterfall, stay for the weeping Mexican lady and cult activity. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, like, I think there's like such a randomness to ghost sightings. You know, like people say, oh, I was here and I saw this ghost, and then I go, I want to see the ghost, but you go there and you go, the ghost isn't there now, you know. But if there's a place that's like known like this, it's like known for having all this high, sightings and all this stuff, like I think that raises my chances.
Yeah.
You know, like
if you've got triple or quadruple things going down, you got a good shot. I agree with that.
I think this is the next destination of Big Rob's van. Maybe I'll just go out there and, just hang out for a little bit. And by the way, that area is known also for lots of wild mushrooms. So maybe that's part of the problem out there. People, I don't know, maybe they're having mushrooms or something.
This is why you don't put your big waterfall and all your ghost sightings in Peyote County, Nevada. That's not good.
Right.
You know, here's another one from Scoob. I mentioned Scoob came out of Hawaii. Lucky Scoob, by the way. And this is an interesting one. And this one falls back on some stuff you may have heard. Pele's Curse. Don't take lava rocks from Hawaii. This is, of course, Hawaii known for its many volcanoes, volcanic activity, and the like. One thing you don't want to go do is take rocks from the volcanic area, because that's when Pele's Curse kicks in. We don't mean soccer Pele. We mean the big boy. Soccer Pele's curse, also brutal. Don't steal someone's soccer ball. But this is the big kahuna up there. Pele is the goddess of fire and volcano. I think I lived with her for a time. Now that I think about it. And so what happens when you get cursed? Well, that's when you steal rocks from there. And that's when bad stuff happens. Many people have reported the curse causing serious calamities, pets dying, which is the most common. Pele doesn't handle it well, and she'll take out your Cocker Spaniel or your bird, whatever you got.
Yeah.
And so what do? You screwed up. You took a rock, right? And now you're cursed. So what do you do? Well, most people say if they take whatever they stole back, put it back in a volcano, they'll give you a break. I don't know how many times you can get away with that. What do you make of, this is the old Peter Brady routine.
Right,
if you saw that episode of the Brady Bunch. Don't screw with these. That's right. What do you make of these curses? You put any credence in these sorts of things?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I wonder, like, why would it be cursed? Only if you remove it. But it's not like it's like it's a holy thing or something. Like, there's lots of, there's lots of volcanoes in Hawaii. Hawaii's kind of like a big volcano, And so, I've been to Hawaii. And we did a thing. We went on these walks that we went through. I believe they're called as lava tubes.
Oh,
but it's places where lava went through the earth and you walk through it, And I mean, there's a lot of lava rocks in those places. I think there are signs that say don't take one, but I thought it was more, because they don't want it disturbed, and less because they're cursed. But I don't know. It always makes me wonder, like, why, I mean, it's not, just jokingly, like the Brady Bunch thing, like if there's a tiki idol, like that's probably some religious thing that's supposed to be there, and so you remove it. That's like, that's like the old pyramid curse, right? Like, this stuff is here to help Tutankhamun transfer. Like if it's here when you die, you can take it to the other world. So if you remove it, like that's bad juju, right? But just taking a rock like that, like, I don't know, but it'd be interesting to, here's what you got to do. When you do any kind of test, you got to have a control group, right? So you got to get like 100 people. Half of them take, just regular rocks, and half of them take lava rocks from Hawaii, and then we follow them for a few years, see what happens.
Yeah. Scoob's in the chat, and he's added some extra bonus goodies here. He says the Hawaiian post office used to get tons of lava rocks and black sand sent back to the islands. So that tells you someone was taking it seriously. Also, he says lava is Pele's body. Taking lava or black sand is stealing her body. She doesn't approve of that, he says. So that right there, just the fact that you mocked Pele just now, I want to make sure that you realize this. I'm not involved in his mockery, Pele. You may have you never know what form she might take. You might get hit with some hemorrhoids or something. You never know what's going to happen. Bad times.
Too late, pay late. So it does. I mean, that does change the story a little bit, because one is like, hey, kids are coming and they're taking a rock from my front porch area, right? The other one is like, hey, they stole my toe. Like that, that's gonna get you cursed. If you're taking the body of somebody like that, you got to bring that back. So that changes my vote, and I say leave the lava rocks there.
A wise decision, Flack. We got one more news item. I knew this was gonna be a long news segment, but this is the last show of the year. We got to get into it, brother. And this last one, now I'll admit, this is a story submitted by Mitsuyama. Our good buddy in the UK. This one this is about 10 years old. But I'll look to see if there's been a resolution, and as far as I can tell, there hasn't been. But I thought it was interesting and timely in this case. Amazing what people do sometimes. And in this case, someone stole the director of the movie Nosferatu's skull. I don't know if you've heard about this. The skull of F.W. Murnau, the director of the 1920s silent vampire classic Nosferatu, has been removed from its grave in Germany. The theft occurred in Stansdorf Cemetery outside Berlin and took place sometime between July 4th and 12th of 2015. He was born in 1888 and died in 1931, so it wasn't very old, but he directed the 1922 Nosferatu, the famous film with Max Schreck in it, Flack. Some people claim that taking items like this has certain cult or ritualistic value. Why do you think someone would steal the guy who directed Nosferatu's skull?
Because they like to party. I don't why would you want, here's the thing. You maybe, if you're listening to this in the future, this is the same week that the crown jewels were stolen from the Louvre, right? And, they're so worried that the jewels are going to be removed from these crowns, and the jewels can be broken down and be sold. Maybe the gold or whatever is in the crowns can be melted down. But the key to all that is you have to change its form, right? You can't just go to the pawn shop and be like, I got this crown. And then they'll go, yeah, it's from the Louvre, you dum-dum. You're in trouble, So the whole thing is you have to change the form, right? If you're going to pawn it and get rid of it, whatever, you got to change it so it doesn't look like the thing that you stole. There's no other than, I guess, possibly flipping it upside down and using it as a creepy ashtray. There's not that much to do with a skull, right? A skull is a skull, right? So now you got to display a skull, and then the first person you tell, they goes, hey, where'd you get a skull? And you go, oh, it's the director of Nosferatu's head. I dug it up, and they go, and then that's it. You can't tell anybody. So it's weird to steal something that you really can't show anyone else or tell anyone else about. Once you tell that two people, I think they say, that it's no longer a secret, right? It's gonna get out. So I don't know why you'd want it. I don't know. Gosh, I don't know. And the thing is that it's not like you've stolen Nosferatu's skull, right? You've stolen a director, a guy that made some movies.
If you said, if I said, hey, Flack, let's say we're talking offline, right? And of the many, many relics I've stolen over the years, I go, Flack, guess what I just picked up? You're like, what? And I'm like, I got Max Schreck's skull. It's sitting here on my desk. That might be impressive to the right person. Holy crap. How'd you pull that off, Or for that matter, if I said, listen, I'm telling somebody it's not dead. Listen, I've got a Barbra Streisand skull sitting here. Don't ask how I got it, okay? But you know who that is.
She might want it back.
Now, I'm not German or European for that matter. So maybe this guy's name carries more weight over there, okay? But if I said, listen, Flack, I've got the director of Nosferatu's skull sitting here, you're going to be, that's the impressed value of that goes way down in my mind.
Yeah, but
You know.
even Max Schreck is not Nosferatu. Max Schreck is a guy who played. He's an actor who
Right.
played. So it's not like you've got Vlad the Impaler's skull, right?
Right.
It's not like you have, the guy or something. It's you have a guy that played the guy. It's like you saying, oh man, I've got, Superman's cape. No, you got Christopher Reeve. I mean, he was a dude, right?
Right.
He played Superman, and then you just got a costume. Like it's not real, So I mean, obviously the skull's very real,
Sure.
but it's not. I don't know.
Here's a question. As we take our first and only break of the evening, I submit this to the chat, and I submit this to you, Flack, and you can ponder it while we're on break. What's the most impressive skull within good taste that you could possibly have? This is someone that is already dead. So think about it, everybody. We'll be back after this commercial break to assess everyone's answers. This is Conversations from the Darkside.
You are experiencing Conversations from the Darkside.
That's right, Jim. We're here on the grounds where the most recent Mothman sighting has occurred, and I gotta say, it's pretty creepy out here. It was last seen around Point Pleasant, West Virginia, terrorizing 2 elderly ladies. The poor old ladies were just trying to enjoy their bingo night when Mothman appeared out of nowhere. Oh,
Do not fear the Mothman. Please leave all windows and doors unlocked when you come to visit Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
It's the world's only Mothman Museum, the premier destination for Mothman fans. The Mothman Museum is the only place where you can see the largest collection of props and memorabilia from the Mothman Prophecies movie, and read rare historical documents from the Scarborough Mount Mothman eyewitnesses themselves documenting what they experienced that fateful night on November 15th, 1966. The museum is located right next to the Mothman statue on Main Street in Point Pleasant.
You are experiencing Conversations from the Darkside.
And we are back. That was our final commercial break of 2025, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to urge you, because I've already played these courses about 1 million times. Go to West Virginia, go to Point Pleasant, check out the Mothman Museum. It's awesome. I don't ever mind putting over the Mothman Museum. Now, before we went to break, I asked, what's the skull you'd like to have? The one that you would show off. Like, what'd you come up with?
Well, if you're looking for something that would be unique,
Yeah.
I mean, my first thought was the Elephant Man.
All right.
I think, so I think because that's one where you could go, guess who that is? And they go, is that the Elephant Man? You go, yeah. Like, it's not going to be someone else,
His
right?
skull is somewhere, right? I mean, it's
on display. Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be a good one. It's a good choice because if it's on display already, it's impressive.
Yeah, but if you got to go just like a normal, like a deformed, thing like that, I think I got to go with Larry Fine from the Three Stooges.
Not bad. Not bad. And you put some kind of fake hair around it to finish it off.
Put some hair around it, and and then I'm going to be looking at it and see if there's damage. Like, he got hit in the head a lot.
Yeah.
For decades, so.
Yeah. We got some very interesting comments in the chat. Scooby says Peabody for Peabody and Sherman. That's a cartoon character, so that would be tough to pull off. A certain shape mentions he'd like to have a true genius skull, maybe Einstein or Freud. It's a good choice right there. I like that.
Yeah.
Pack Billy very cheekily said Merrick. That's nice. Dave Z mentions Andre the Giant. That would be a good one. I like that. Elf, and they approve. Also, they say here Michael Jackson tried to buy his remains. I do recall that back in the day.
Yeah.
One would wonder why, but I don't want to know probably. And Keyboard G rounds it out with Bigfoot skull. That would be awesome. Honestly, that'd be a good choice. I would like to have maybe like an old boxer skull. I tell like I'd have to think of somebody I really liked from back in the day. It's a big Muhammad Ali fan. I like George Foreman, but those guys, it's a little bit too soon for that. So maybe I would have, gosh, how about that boxer that fought in front of that the haunted farm we did a couple weeks ago? One of those guys. That'd be a nice memento. Yeah. It's just they fought in West Virginia, so that might be kind of interesting. Now, are we going to switch gears here, ladies and gentlemen? Get ready. We're putting this sucker double overdrive because as we marketed this, we are going to dip our toe in the pool of the witch board or Ouija board and the tarot cards. We're going to start off. Flack is going to tell us everything you ever wanted to know about witch boards or Ouija boards. Which one do you prefer, Flack? What's your preferred nomenclature on the board?
Well, Ouija is, the trademarked one, right? So I think everybody just uses the term Ouija. I think witch board is kind of the more generalized term.
Now, before you get into it, through the magic of science, ladies and gentlemen, I have somehow managed to pixelate a Ouija board or witch board into a functional computer program, right? And I will now ask Flack to give me a question, and while he's going over what a Ouija board or witch board is, this thing should generate an answer to his question using all the power of evil spirits. So, Flack, what is your question for the big board?
My question is, has Aaron ever had inappropriate thoughts about Elvira's skull?
I don't like that question. Go ahead, Flack. You can do your thing, and I'll take care of this.
So anyway, when we were talking about coming up with ideas for this show, one of the things that kept coming up is talking to the dead. Again, 25% of Americans believe that you can communicate with people who have passed on to the other side. So I wanted to dig into Ouija boards and the history of Ouija boards. So, as we talked about, Ouija board is a very specific thing. Like when you see one that says Ouija board, like that's a copyright, that's a trademark thing, right? But those things go way back. In fact, there is history of what they called planchette writing, which literally, so if you don't know, the planchette is the thing that you put on top of a Ouija board and move it around. There is records of planchette writing dating back to in China all the way back to 1100 AD, so almost 1,000 years ago. There's a lot of similarity between Ouija boards and automatic writing or automated writing, which was a thing where people would say that they were communicating with spirits and then they would write the answers, but of course, or write what they were thinking. But a lot of people felt like that's a little too, you're doing the writing, and so people, I don't think people loved that. So in the U.S., Ouija boards or communication boards, all these things really came into popularity right around the time of the Civil War, which makes sense because we lost so many people in the Civil War and a lot of young people, so people were probably at that time desperate to talk to, their loved ones that had passed on. And, of course, that's when we have the big spiritualism movement, the mid to late 1800s here in the U.S. as well. So all these things kind of combined. You had people saying, hey, I can, you want to talk to a dead relative? I can help you talk to a dead relative. And we'll use, this board, one of these communication boards to do that. So there were at that time, there was a lot of different writing boards. Like there wasn't a uniform kind of thing, right? But there's one that kind of evolved, and if you're watching the video right now, you can see it. And even if you're not, I'm sure you're familiar with the basic Ouija board. You have your yes, your no, your maybe. You have an alphabet and numbers, and then of course you have to have a goodbye thing. So when the spirit is done communicating with you, it can tell you it's leaving, and the planchette will move down to goodbye now. I'm assuming that most people are familiar with the idea of how a Ouija board works. But what the idea is that multiple people put their hands or fingertips on the planchette. You're supposed to rest them lightly, not press down, but everybody touches it, and then you can try to communicate with the spirit, and the planchette will slowly move around the board and spell out answers. Or if you ask it yes or no questions, it'll move to the yes or no or maybe answers. So like I said, there was a lot of different types of these communication boards or writing boards back in the 1800s, especially the 1880s, but it was in 1890. There were 3 people that came together: Elijah Bond, Charles Kennard, and Helen Peters, and they patented the Ouija board as the one that we know today. It was in Baltimore, Maryland. The name of the company. So it was kind of Elijah Bond, I think, was kind of the guy that came up with the idea to do this. Charles Kennard had a company where he had a novelty company. And then Helen Peters Nosworth is her full name, but she was a spiritual medium. So she had that angle. So these 3 people, it's like everybody had a little part of it, and they came together and they patented the Ouija board. So they took it this is kind of a famous story, and some people have discounted it since then, but the story was that they took it to the patent office and tried to get a patent on the Ouija board. And so the patent officer that they met with had a middle name that he had never told anyone, like a secret, name that he didn't tell people. And he said, let me see the board, and I'm going to try to talk to a spirit, and if it can tell me what my middle name is, I will grant you a patent. And then later he said, you can have the patent. So again, according to legend, that's how the Ouija board, became official, how it became patented. Now, a lot of people, and I even thought this was, I had always heard that the name Ouija or Ouija came from the French and German words for yes, because O-U-I is we in French and J-A is yes in German. But when the Peters, the medium, she was using the board, and she got a message from the board that spelled out Ouija, which was basically put together, it meant good luck. So that was actually where the name comes from. Now, some people dispute this story as well, but maybe this is something we can ask the board later on if this is the true story of how the Ouija board got its name. So again, that middle guy, the William Fuld, he was the guy who his company, he had a novelty company, and so this was sold as kind of a novelty item, and he was the primary manufacturer of the official Ouija boards through most of the 20th century, but he sold the rights in 1966 to a little company called Parker Brothers. And so Parker Brothers, and they kind of capitalized on something here, because not only, Parker Brothers obviously had the ability to mass produce these things. I had a Parker Brothers Ouija board when I was in high school, back like in the 80s. But not only were they able to mass produce them, but they had moved production to their headquarters, which was located in Salem, Massachusetts. So they tied into that. Yeah. And so they said, hey, our Ouija boards, not only is it an official, Ouija board, but they're made in Salem. And so
that's
that
bonkers. I'd never heard that. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so and again, like I think of, you and I probably think of Ouija boards as dating back hundreds of years and being these things, especially in the 1880s. But really, the popularity of them, especially here in the U.S., really took off in the 1960s when Parker Brothers started mass producing them. So Parker Brothers made all official Ouija boards up until 1991, and that's only because Hasbro acquired Parker Brothers. So all the ones after 1991, official ones, are made by Hasbro. I jotted down just while I was doing this, some movies that just kind of, focused on Ouija boards. And one of the earliest ones that I remember was Witchboard. I love Witchboard. This is a 1986 movie. And I think this is like the movie, like I'm sure there were other movies before then that showed seances or Ouija boards and things like that. But Witchboard was like the one that for me showed like everything about it. Like people at a party, they used the Ouija board, and then that kind of set the rule that a lot of people know is that you're never supposed to use a Ouija board by yourself, right? Because that can open you up. So if there's multiple people, the spirit can't come in and possess somebody. But if there's only one person using the Ouija board, I guess if you want to, I don't know that I had even seen it at this age, but of course that's the same thing that happens in The Exorcist, right? Is, they think that they're talking to one spirit, but it ends up being another spirit. There's a couple other movies. Don't Panic is one from 1988 that is just kind of another one of those. There's a lot of these movies that all have the same plot, which is people use a Ouija board and then wish they hadn't. That also happens in 2007 Paranormal Activity, which was that was a creeper,
I saw that in the theater, and I have to say, there are long parts of nothing and then quick bouts of something. That movie gets creepy.
Yeah, well, I rented it and watched it late at night while I was laying in bed by myself in the dark, and I wished I hadn't, especially since the last scene of the movie takes place where they're laying in bed in the dark.
Yeah.
And it's like going out in the middle of the ocean and watching Jaws, like not a good idea, But and then I had to add one of my favorite movies over the past 5 years, which is Ouija Shark, which is a totally completely ridiculous movie. I'm a big fan of the B horror movies. And Ouija Shark is about these teenage girls who are at the beach, and a Ouija board comes in off the beach, like it floats in from the ocean, and they end up, all these movies, you bring in a bad spirit, and they don't name him by names, but basically they bring back the spirit of Jaws. And so not only is Jaws now hunting them and loose in the town, but the ghost of Jaws can come out of pretty much anything that's water. The ghost of Jaws comes out of a glass of water and eats a guy's head off. He appears in rain puddles, anywhere that, don't get me started on the pool party scene. He can come out of anywhere. So, if you really want to find out the true explanation of Ouija boards, you want to check out Ouija Shark. But yeah, Ouija boards are still made. I remember in high school, I was highly shocked. I thought Ouija boards were this thing you would have to go to a cult type store, some underground place. I was completely shocked to find out they sold them at Walmart. I had no idea. And so, that's where the one that I got came from. And I'll tell you, I had one of the prevailing theories that a lot of people have about Ouija boards is that if you get enough people to put their hands on a planchette and you wait long enough, somebody's going to get bored and they're going to move the planchette, right? And you would think that, I did this a few times with kids from school, and the problem wasn't that nobody would move it. The problem was that everybody would move it. Everybody thought they would be the funny ghost, and move it around. So people are literally just shoving the thing back and forth, trying to get answers out of it, But I will tell you that. Those planchettes are designed, they have felt on the bottom of it, and the top of the board is laminated, so they move very smoothly across there. And every now and then, you leave your hand on that thing long enough and you'll feel it feels like it moves or something, or you got a couple of people and everybody there swears they're not moving it. But when that happens, it's a very, very unsettling experience.
First of all, so you don't buy it? Is what you're saying?
Well, I think it's probably. I mean, if you buy into being able to communicate with people who have passed away, right? They have to have some sort of vehicle to do that. And so, whether that's a Ouija board, whether that's automated writing, I mean, they're all pretty much the same kind of thing, So I'm not writing it off. I'm saying that I personally don't think I've ever seen one move where one of my buddies wasn't kind of snickering as well, But just because I haven't had that experience doesn't mean that all the experiences can be written off.
I live with my old roommate Big Head, rest his soul. I love that man, and he didn't believe in buying a Ouija board. He said the only way you could get one to work was to make your own, and he had one, and he was quite a believer in it. And I've been to I've had parties, Halloween parties and stuff where, and one in particular I remember where my friend of mine Barbie was here, who she claims to be sort of a sensitive type, and you could that sort of thing. And we made an oath with three of us. It was me and her and somebody else. I think it was Tree. We were not going to screw with the flechette. We're going to play it. And we sat down and played it, and we got some action off of it. And it's the first time I thought to myself, maybe there's something to this. Because I remember as a kid, my neighbors had a Ouija board, and we would go down and play in their pool, the little pool house they had. And even back then, I'm like, man, this is creepy. If you were going to open up if you were going to create a conduit to communicate with the dead, or God knows what, I mean, it would have to be something along these lines. And there's a certain amount of genius in it, the way it works, because you're right. There's plenty of room for screwing around with it, moving it on your own. And you never really, truly know that it's being moved. You don't. I mean,
right.
So it's quite a thing to use. I've used homemade ones and round ones, and we've used the generic one. And I know a lot of people aren't down with the whole thing. Oh, it's Parker Brothers, blah blah. You get this thing at Kmart or whatever, which it is a weird vibe. I've got one sitting in next room over here that we've had forever. Because the neighbors scared themselves so badly, they knew Teresa was into ghost stuff, and they just said, listen, you're like this sort of stuff, take it. We don't even want it. So I bet it's one of the most thrown away games ever. You know what I'm saying? And so it's great for whoever owns the rights, because they're going to be selling these things from now to doomsday, because most people at some point have an experience that's so creepy they toss these things in the garbage.
I think, a lot of people get freaked out. It's if you think about it one way, you think, well, Parker Brothers or Hasbro now is just mass producing it. It's not like they're not printing them in blood. Like it's just a machine that prints them and stuff. But it evokes a feeling in people. Do you have a scene set up where it's a big shot of me?
I think so. Keep talking while I fiddle.
Yeah, and if you don't, it doesn't matter. But I was just going to point out that behind me here, from Spirit Halloween, here you go. From Spirit Halloween a few years ago, I bought you can barely make it out. I kind of got lights turned down here a little bit, but I bought a blanket that looks like a Ouija board. I mean, it's got the print,
we got one of those and a tablecloth.
Yeah, and I had someone come to the house, and it made them completely uncomfortable. They were like, "Yeah, I just don't like being around it. Just don't." And like I was like, "I don't have a giant planchette that's gonna go on top of this blanket. Like you're safe. I think this is, probably made in China, and it's just a print on top of a blanket." But it does it evokes that feeling, that idea, and I think you're right. Like a lot of people don't want them in their house, don't want them, don't want to be around them, and certainly don't want to play around with them, you know. So there's definitely a connection that people have from them.
You know, it's funny you should mention that because I'm so dull. I'm a dullard because I'm listening to you this whole time. It never even occurred to me that my mouse pad is a Ouija board. I've been using this for years. Anyone that's been to Boat Fest always brings this because it's huge. It's huge.
Oh, yeah.
So if you listen to the radio, I'm just holding up a big mouse pad that's a Ouija board. So, I mean, they're on everything. You know, you could get a Ouija board Halloween costume if you're dressed like it. You could tree. They've got T-shirts. They've got magnets. They've got everything. Because I mean, the Ouija's cool. Like it's just cool. It's a forbidden, creepy thing, and that's always going to be a turn on with a certain set of people.
Yeah, there's certain things that are just like it's a symbol, right? Like, I mean, you walk into a room with a T-shirt that has a pentagram on it, like people are gonna go, "What's your story? Why are you doing that?" You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you have just announced to the world, like, I have something to say about this, right? And the Ouija board thing is the same way. Like, I mean, just like what you said, like it could be it's a mouse pad, it's a blanket, it's a whatever, you know, it's a piece of artwork, it's your screensaver. But when people see it, like it just immediately brings that reaction out of people.
It's funny because you're right. It's Ouija boards are just, and I think tarot is too. They're just socially accepted enough to get away with it. Like my buddy, when I was in high school, he ran the biggest satanic paraphernalia site in the United States, okay? He was big-time Satanist. And so the stuff he sold, you couldn't just walk out. I mean, you could, but if you wanted to go to a restaurant or go to church, you can't wear a big bloody pentagram with a doll head in the middle of it. That doesn't get over it, you know what I mean? Right. But you might be able to wear a Ouija board to dinner and be okay. In church, you're pushing it, but maybe. So there's a certain acceptance. There's a certain acceptance of that sort of thing. It dovetails nicely into what I'm going to be talking about. And it's going to be a brief rundown of this, but I've got some show and tell to go along with it. So I'm going to talk about the tarot cards. Now, there was a time where I could turn a card, much like Cher and Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves. I was just the thief, and the tramp part, I wish. But tarot card, you may have heard of tarot cards. Traditionally, it's a deck of 78 cards. You've got 22 of the major arcana cards and 56 of the minors. And then you're going to have all sorts of styles. You know, it's funny, when I was looking into this earlier, when I was putting this together, I was like, where the heck did these things come from? You know, and it's funny because no one really knows. The origin has been traced back to India, Egypt, and all the way back to the invention of paper products. That's how far back they stretch. And playing cards. And so you're talking like 12th century stuff. And then they didn't even get to Europe until the 15th century. And they probably came in via Venice. If you recall, that was a big trade route from the Far East. And so they actually have surviving tarot cards that are for the 15th century that were hand-painted and gilded. They were Italian. So that shows you how far back they date. Tarot cards, at some point, they probably were a game. Or they came from a game, but eventually they were sort of melded into fortune telling, probably sometime in the late 1700s, and you had a deck that was somewhat less than the normal amount of cards you see now, probably something like 52 or 55 cards, and then eventually, of course, you know, the 1800s and 1900s, the occult was a big deal. And so you had a lot of people bring tarot in, and you start using that as a way to cast fortunes. And you're asking yourself, well, how did they do that? Well, I mean, there's a big variance. There's actually a lot more structure in tarot now than there was when it came out of wherever it came out of. But the tarot cards have been around and in circulation, I mean, for hundreds of years. There are woodcut tarot cards, there are metal tarot cards. We mentioned the gilded ones. So there's even some that have been cast on animal skin. You know, so they which in leather. It's very interesting. They changed over the years. In the 18th century, animals were more heavily featured, like dogs, for example. In the 19th century, they went more of a swords and battles sort of affair, pictured on them. Of course, this does predate what you would commonly call a deck of today's. So I brought 4 decks here just to show them off. I'm not going to get into too deep in the woods because as we speak, we're only 25 minutes from the pay window here. But I'm going to knock through them real quick. Go ahead, Flack.
Are these decks of cards, do they have different, is it just decorative? Is that what's different in them? Or do they have actually different cards on them?
There's a little, it depends. It depends on which one you're talking to. So let's get into it here. I'm going to zoom myself in. So this is a standard little deck you can pick up anywhere. This one came from therunningpress.com. This is a little tarot deck. It's a sort of your portable number. I'm just going to grab some cards and show them off here. And these are what you would use, if you just wanted to have something like a little travel deck with you. And you can see what they look like there. They're quite nice. If you're listening on the radio, they're all black, and the corners are edged in different colors to coincide with the different upper and lowers. And you can see they're nice. They're pretty decorative, but that's a pretty standard deck. Now you've got the mother of all decks, and when you think tarot cards, the deck that probably pops into your mind is this one right here. This is the Rider deck, the Rider Tarot deck, which is the one that's probably you've probably seen this one, Flack, over the years. The Rider deck is usually the one that is most. Gosh, that's scary. The first thing I pulled out's the devil. Is usually the one that is the most prominent. You see this thing in films and movies. Let me fan this thing. So just the backs are pretty generic, but the artwork it's pretty standard fare for what you would see featured in TV shows and movies.
Yeah, those look real familiar.
Yeah. And so if you're familiar, there's the big man right there. These are pretty standard deck. That you would see, and you could see these things are on sale at anywhere, bookstores and whatnot. In fact, so is that other deck. These are pretty generic decks. So now we're getting to a little more oddball stuff here. I
have a question for you.
Yeah,
do you shuffle them like a regular deck of cards?
Well,
beforehand,
no, you split them into separate. Depends on what kind of layout you're going for. You split the decks into separate piles. And a lot of it depends on the deck you're using, and it also depends on which layout you're going to use. Different layouts, there's a 3, a 5, a 7, and even more. So
it's kind of a structure to use in it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So these cards are Zerner Fabier cards. I never can remember the name of these. These are real ornate here. You can see these have they work in a pastel-y way. The artwork in these was all pointed art, like done specifically for this card set. I think these are real nice cards. They've got a good feel to them. These have gained in popularity over the years as people looking for something a little bit different than the Rider deck. If you're listening at home, again, these have a watercolor or a pastel-y look to them, and they're very elegant feeling cards and looking cards. I don't know where I even picked those up, to be honest with you. And then the last deck I've got here to show off is. This is a special deck. Gosh, I think this was given to me years and years ago. This is the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck right here. Oh. These are pretty rare. You don't see them all that often. I mean, I say that probably somebody could go into eBay and go to work. But I haven't seen these for sale for a while. But these were decked. Now, according to the legend of these cards, Aleister Crowley himself put the work in. This is a different sort of deck. If you're listening at home, this has kind of a nice banner or a crest on the back. It's quite nice. It's quite lovely. And then the front of these cards are real odd, to be honest with you. They're interesting looking. And you can see there's a ton of really interesting cards. They're more abstract than the other cards, I would say. Wouldn't you, Flack? Having looked at the few I've held up here, they're pretty odd. and of course, your mileage may vary on if this stuff. I mean, I've always heard that he designed this deck. Who knows, you know? And then since we're talking about, I'm gonna clean up this mess. Since we're talking about tarot and Ouija, you ever wonder to yourself, what would happen if you had a combination of the two? And I, believe it or not, I actually have something here that is a combination of tarot and
interesting.
And this is something I picked. You're not going to believe this one. I picked this up. God, I don't even know where I got it. This is another Zerner and Farber item. This is the enchanted spell board right here. And so what this? And keep in mind that we just looked at their cards. They were the second deck, or the third deck we looked at. And so this, I'm going to open this up just so you can see what it looks like inside. Let me try to find where to put all this stuff.
That third deck almost reminded me of like, who is that? Is it Boris Vallejo? Is that the guy that did like the fan?
Yes.
That artwork, it looked like that.
It does have a resemblance to that. So the spell board, I've got the board right here. It's a little more elaborate than a Ouija board would be. If you're listening at home, think of like a very elaborate, magical Trivial Pursuit board. That's sort of what it looks like when you fold it out. So there's what it looks like. And you can see it's sort of like they've sort of implemented tarot-type symbolism on a board. And then you're probably asking yourself, well, how do you control that? Well, it comes with this little item that slides around the board. And you can see through it so you can tell what the spirits have guided you to.
So it's like a clear planchette. Like
it's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. The entirety of it is clear, which I thought was and it's a nice thing. I found that thing at a thrift store, if you can believe it. And the only reason I knew what it was because I had the deck. And so when I saw the names on it, I'm like, what is this weird thing? So I picked it up. Yeah, gotta have it, you know. I've never used that, I will say. That's one thing I've never done. But that's just a quick look at some tarot cards. Now, we've got about 19 minutes left. We got a couple more items to take care of. But I've got a special surprise for everybody. We're going to listen to 2 audio clips that were submitted. One of them is from John Bodekar-Schaller. We'll listen to his first. This is a brief little clip where he's talking about, we were talking about looking for water with divining rods and whatnot last week. And boats in a little clip. So this is just a minute or so clip. So I'm going to run this thing, and then we can discuss it. So here's John Bodekar-Schaller.
So when I was a volunteer at Oxfam in Sheffield in 2008, there was a girl from Barnsley who swore that she could douse, and she had dowsing powers, and her dowsing powers had been called upon, especially for various occasions, for water, and it was a professional gig. And so dowsing for water remains a viable source of income for those in the northern part of England. This boat, by the way.
So that was Boat confirming that, in fact, there are still people making money dowsing and divining water in England. Flack, what do you make of that?
Wow. Well, you know, it's one of those things that the success rate is higher than chance, right?
Yeah.
So is there a scientific reason? Like, can we prove through science that it works? No. Should it work? No. Are these people successful at doing it? Yep. And I mean, why would you pay somebody to do it if it didn't work? You know, if they weren't successful. So, I mean, it makes me think that if the furlough keeps going, I may have to look at picking up either learning tarot cards or I'm gonna start dowsing.
One thing's for sure.
Input. Yeah.
You should be well acquainted with finding water. Given your local problems at the house there, that shouldn't be any issue for you.
I found it all over the place.
Yeah, you know, something else we touched on, it's in the same kind of ballpark. It's a little something for me. And I was talking to my buddy at work. He's part of an American Legion. And so he said recently one of the daughters one of the adult daughters of one of the members got pregnant. She's several weeks in, and they didn't want to know the sex of the baby. It's one of those deals they're going to reveal it. They don't want to know what it is. It's sealed in an envelope. I guess that's the way people do stuff now.
Right.
But her dad wanted to know what the sex was. So they came in, and she laid down on the bar, pulled her shirt up to expose her tummy. And now I've heard this shtick before, where someone will take a wedding ring or an engagement ring and put it on the end of a string and would hold it over the belly. And I believe if it went around in circles, it's a woman, and if it went back and forth in a straight line, it was going to be a boy. You ever heard of that shtick, Flack?
I have, yeah.
So I think I got that right. So, this guy didn't use a ring. He has another wackier way of doing it. He said, listen, what you need is a string, and you need a number 2 pencil. It's got to be a number 2. That's his words, not mine, and it has to have an eraser. And so that's how he figured out the sex of the child. So it turns out that the doctor said it was going to be a girl, but he determined it would be a boy. And so when confronted with the information, he said, we'll see who's right. Begrudgingly, he was not happy. So there's still someone out there who's still getting at it. I found that rather amusing that there's, because here we are, 2025. We talked about that last week. Does anyone still care about this stuff? Yes is the answer. My buddy also confirmed that locally there are people that find water with the rides. So, and get paid for it, I might add. So there's that. Now, we've got a text I want to read from our good buddy TSI Matt that I thought was quite interesting here. I'm going to just read this one. He sent in a message here. If I can find where I stuck the darn thing. I got too many tabs open here, Flack. It's my problem. I'll just read off my phone. So he Discorded over a message, which is as follows. Again, this is TSI Matt. So he says, it took me a while to think of which story would be best. And he says, this will fit Halloween. In my college days, we once took a road trip to Cedar Point, a roller coaster theme park in northern Ohio. I've been there, Sandusky. The trip itself was an epic odyssey, but that is a whole other story. This is about the return trip. After we left the park, we set out driving west along the coast of Lake Erie, following what looked like a giant building in the distance, which turned out to be a nuclear power plant. The route is just endless strip malls until we eventually reached Toledo. From there, we made our way southeast, passing mainly through cornfields, with the occasional town interspersed. Interestingly, after dark, every town had someone stopped by the local police. Thankfully, not us. It continued with this alternating pattern of cornfields and towns until we reached the vampire town, or that's at least what we called it. When we reached the town, it was about 1 a.m., and unlike all the other sleepy towns, this one was wide awake. Lights were on everywhere. There were people milling about. Businesses were open, and there were even some guy working on the roof of his house. Jesus, at 1 a.m. We were amazed at this unexpected sight. We did not hang around too long and got the heck out of there. I'm not saying that for certain they were vampires, but it was really weird. And aside from the obvious reasons, the town just felt off, kind of like something out of the Twilight Zone. That is bizarre. You ever been to a town like that?
I'm trying to think of like I will say this, that my son has been exploring ghost towns in Oklahoma. So he has found this list of towns that for whatever reason are just completely abandoned, Yeah. And so he went to a couple, and there, the only other people there are people like him, people that have seen this list online and they're curious and they want to go check it out. But he did say he went to one and it felt like maybe people were living there and kind of giving him the side eye a little bit. Yeah. And he said it was more than just like squatters. He said it was a uncomfortable feeling. He said they ended up leaving, and so you never know. You never know what, vampires got to live somewhere, right?
Yeah, you got that right.
Who knows?
Who knows? That would freak me out. I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen a town where a guy was work on his roof after 1 a.m. That's a new one.
No.
That's a new one right there. Unless you're in like the Middle East, that's probably pretty common given the heat that kicks up.
Yeah.
So we've got one more story. I've saved this one for last, but before we get into it, since we were talking, this is people don't know this, like this is a retro gaming station generally. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, what can I do to somehow seamlessly meld retro gaming into this show? And I've done it. Can you believe I've done it?
Oh, you found something?
Sure. And we're going to do something because our last story comes from Eric Nelson from the Pixel Gaiden podcast. This is about a 10-minute story.
Oh.
And so I thought to myself, what are we going to do while we're waiting for this story to play out silently? So here's what we're going to do. We, on ARG a while back, which is a show myself and my brother do, where we play all kinds of oddball stuff, Brent picked a game, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And so we're going to use this game right now. Hey, it's from Rare, and it's called Taboo the Sixth Sense. You ever heard of this one, Flack?
No.
So
what is this?
Taboo the Sixth Sense is a game from the Nintendo NES, and it's a tarot card game. That's exactly what it is. It's just from Rare, by the way. So if you know anything about video games, you know who Rare is. And Rare did a game called Taboo the Sixth Sense. And so I thought while we're listening to Eric Nelson talk, I'm going to enter in. I'm going to get Flack's data here before we start, and we're going to give you a tarot reading right here in the show, Flack. Theoretically.
Oh, okay. All right.
Excuse me. So if I can get this thing to start, let me click on it here. Here we go. So first, let's put your name in, and we'll do this, and then we'll start this thing up. So FL. Hey, I'm sure this will be fine. They know who you are. We'll just put Flack in here, and that should do it.
The spirits know who I am.
That's right. And then your birthday is, what year were you born, Flack?
1973.
Okay, let's see here. I think this is the way you do it. And what was your birth month?
August.
Okay, that's a good month. So we'll go 08, and then the day.
22.
All right. Oh no, I must have did it backwards here. So let's try it again. What year did you say you were?
Is this going to ask me for my social security number?
Yeah. What year did you say you were born?
73.
73. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try this one more time. Let's put 22, and then 08. Let's try that. We know it's one of these three ways of doing it. Okay, then we'll do it this way. 08, 22. Third time's the charm. When you're in a hurry to do something, Oh, it's going to go. Oh, sex, male. Got it. Okay.
Oh,
and then before we start the audio, what is your question for the thing here? What do you want the cards to tell you?
Here's what I want to know.
Yeah. And make it short. I want to type this in.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. With a joystick.
What's a short question? Will we be doing this show next year?
Okay, I'm going to abbreviate that.
Yeah.
Back.
And while you're typing that, I was thinking when you were talking about the tarot cards, I'm sure you remember this, the James Bond movie, Live and Let Die.
Oh, yeah. Someone brought that up earlier.
Oh, did they? Yeah, he was after the bad guy that used the tarot card. That's probably the first thing that I saw that used. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Where that was, I think, probably my introduction to tarot cards. But I've never owned a deck, so I love you showing those and the different artwork and stuff. That's one thing. You listen to the podcast, you hear us talk, but if you go to YouTube and check out the replays, the videos, you can see the artwork on those cards. They look great.
All right, so we've got the question typed in. I'm going to start Eric's story here, and then we'll let the Taboo, the Sixth Sense, start doing its thing. Here we go. Again, This is a story from this. I did screen this. This is a weird, wild stuff. This is Eric Nelson audio. Here we go.
Hello, Amigo Aaron and Flack. I wanted to let you two know I've been very much enjoying the show this month, as well as past years. I've listened to every episode. Love the show. wanted to tell you a story of my own. It is all true. Some of the details might be a little vague because it happened so long ago, but this happens to be a true story. It happened in 1987. I think I was a sophomore in high school, so me and a couple of my friends were just starting to drive. And when Halloween came, we wanted to take a little drive or trip around midnight on Halloween night. And so there had been legends and folklore about this street out in Alberta, California. I went to a high school in Rio Linda, and Alberta is just outside of there, so it wasn't much of a drive. And the street was called Dyer Lane, D-Y-E-R. And there were a ton of stories about this street. My sister, who was 4 years older than I was, had told me a lot of different stories about this street and some shenanigans that her and her friends had went out and did on the street. So I'll paint a little picture of what the street is like. I've been there many times since, but it is a very rural street. Not much is on this street. So you kind of take this road out in the middle of nowhere, you make a left and you're on Dyer Lane, and you drive, and I think it's, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 miles, and then you hit an L, and you make a left, and then you're off of Dyer Lane. So it's probably maybe 5 or 6 miles long, and there's nothing out there. There's some pastures. There are a couple of houses, like old dilapidated houses out there. But it has a strong reputation over the years for being what's called a haunted street. And I don't want to go into a bunch of those stories because I want to tell my own story. But if you just Google Dyer Lane, D-Y-E-R, and Alberta, you'll find a ton of articles as well as actual news articles about true things that happened on Dyer Lane, as well as myths and legends about what happened. Just one of the true stories is that someone was murdered in the Northern California area, and their body was dumped there. Another one was a cyclist was hit on that road. But then some of the more legends are there's supposedly a witches' coven that practices rituals down on that street in the fields. There's
always one.
Things like that. But anyway, so it is a very strong reputation for being haunted or having paranormal things happen on the road. So anyway, of course, we were eager to try to explore that ourselves on Halloween night, 1987. So me and 2 of my friends jump in his dad's old Oldsmobile station wagon, which was this big kind of beige station wagon with wood paneling on the sides. And we start heading out there to Dyer Lane. And it is pitch black out there because it is in the middle of nowhere. So we make the left onto Dyer Lane and we start driving, and we cannot see anywhere past our headlights. It is so dark out there. And we're driving pretty slow for a country road. It's, we're probably driving like 25, 35 miles an hour. And yeah, I mean, it's spooky and everything, but we didn't really see anything going on. But when we reached the end of Dyer Lane, where it makes a sharp 90-degree left onto this road, I think it's called Tanwood Road or something like that, off in the distance, about maybe a half a mile away, we see a fire, like a bonfire. But we can barely see it because it's so far away. So we're straining to look, and we pull over, and we all get out of the car. And I told my friend, because I wasn't the one driving, I told my friend, leave the engine running. So he leaves the engine running, and we get out, and we stand up on the top of the station wagon, and we're kind of looking. And one of us actually had a pair of binoculars, because I think we wanted to see, because some of the more dilapidated houses were quite a bit off the road, and we wanted to kind of take a look at the old haunted houses and the legends from that. So he takes a look at the binoculars, and he's looking at the fire, and he says that he sees like shadows going across the fire, like flickering across like the fire, like people are running in front of it. So I take the binoculars and I'm taking a look at this, and sure enough, there are people I could vaguely see people going around the fire, like almost like running around in circles around the fire, or maybe dancing or something. So we're just like, wow, that is nuts. And so we stay there. And meanwhile, this station wagon, I mean, the lights are on and everything. It was kind of dumb. I mean, I assumed everybody, if there's anyone around, they could see this car. So anyway, we're staring at this thing. And I don't want to give away the names of my friends because I don't know if they want to really be part of a Halloween podcast here. But I give the binoculars to one of the guy who drove, and he's looking at it, and he's like, "Hey, the people running around the fire have stopped. I don't see it, the flickering anymore of people running in front of it." And then he looks closer, and he jumped down off of the car and said, "They're coming this way." And so I grabbed the binoculars and I look, and I can see a bunch of because it was so dark out there, very vague outlines of people running full speed from this field towards our car. Now, there is a small barbed wire fence, like right at that L shape. So I wasn't worried at first, but then I realized there was probably a good 4 or 5 people running at us. So we all just jump into the car. We are freaked out. So we jump into the car, and my friend floors the station wagon, and it died. He flooded the engine. The car dies. And I could see the headlights. I remember distinctly the headlights kind of, when the engine died, the headlights just kind of dimmed, like they were struggling to stay on. And so we were freaking out. He turned it off, started it. It would not start. It was like the engine would not turn over. It was almost like the battery was dying or dead. And we were freaking out. So one of my other friend that was with us, he opened up the back of the station wagon, starts looking around, finds a tire iron, and we are ready to like try to defend ourselves against these people. And by that time, these people running at us had kind of started to close the gap. They were maybe, I don't know, maybe like half the distance, so maybe a quarter mile away, but we started to get a clearer picture of them. And these were one of the scariest things you can imagine. Naked dudes. That's right. True story. There was about 3 or 4 naked people that we could see running at us. And with things in their hands. I couldn't tell what it was, if they were sticks or bats or knives or whatever. I couldn't tell because it was too dark, but I could distinctly see that they were naked, and I was not having any more of that. So I'm standing there getting ready with this tire iron, getting ready to start defending ourselves. When I looked back at my friend who was the driver, he was still trying to start the engine. I told him to turn the lights off on the car, which he did. I shut the doors, and I heard him crank the engine one last time, and it actually started. So the other friend who was standing alongside me getting ready to defend our station wagon jumps into the car via the window because we had closed the door. I ran around the other side and jumped in the other window, Dukes of Hazzard style, but my legs were hanging out of it, and he doesn't floor it this time intelligently. He actually just eases it, and we take off. And I looked out the back window, and I saw those people reach the fence, but they did not even attempt to jump over the fence. And we were off and running. And that was probably one of the scariest Halloween stories I have. It freaked us out. And I don't remember if me and those particular friends ever went back to Dyer Lane. But man, it was scary. Anyway, thanks for listening to my story. And thanks for doing this podcast. I've really been enjoying it. Thank you.
There it is, Flack. Thank you, Eric Nelson. Please check Eric out over at the Pixel Gaiden podcast that's on the Amigos Retro Gaming Network if you're interested in checking them out. Great story. What do you make of that, Flack?
You know, I mean, I believe every word of it. You know, there's who knows what those people were out there doing. You know, but
not wearing clothes.
I mean, Yeah, there are certain signs that like they weren't running out there to, serve hot dogs. Like, I mean, when you see a bunch of naked dudes dance around a fire and then they come after you, they got sticks in their hands or something, like it's time to leave, right? It's time to go. Like there's nothing, they're not coming out there to invite you, out for lunch, So I had the thing is when stuff like that happens, it's so, I mean, not that it happens every day, but I had a kind of a similar story.
What?
It sounds crazy, right? But I wasn't. So I was. There was a similar kind of area here in Oklahoma City that they've since. It was like an old schoolhouse, and it was out in the middle of nowhere, and everybody said it was haunted or witches went there. It was like one of those kind of things. And I wasn't going there, but I had gone somewhere near there late at night, and I was driving down the road, and I saw a kid running down the street, and he was trying to flag somebody for a ride. And when I slowed down, I recognized him. He was a kid that went to my school. He was a couple years younger than me. He was in the same grade as my little sister. And I said, "What are you doing out here?" And he basically told me that they had gone out there and they had saw people that were trying to do something, creepy out there, like, a fire, like kind of a similar kind of thing. He didn't mention if they were naked or not, but I mean, the whole, like, there's a difference, like when people will tell you a weird story and then they go, could have happened or what. But I mean, when somebody tells you something, they're terrified. Like you could see it, you could hear it in their voice, you could see it on their face. And this guy was absolutely terrified. And so, yeah, it's there are certain places, I mean, people like that go to, who knows what they're up to. But if you're not one of those people, don't go there. Don't go to Dyer's Lane.
Yeah, I remember long ago, we used to take these long rides after I got off work doing pizza, just out in the sticks with me and my buddies. As many people as we could cram into my car. We saw all kinds of crazy stuff, but one time we were just out in the triple sticks, and there was a big bonfire going on. I mean, there were probably, it looked like 100 people, but you know how it is. And when we pulled up, they all stopped their cavorting and turned around. And I slammed that sucker in reverse, and here they came. Coming down the line. Now, certain parts of West Virginia, they don't want you out there, no matter who you are. And so I'm not saying this is some kind of weird cult, but in my mind, because this was the early 90s, this was a killer cult, and they were coming to get us, and we got the heck out of there. So I that struck a chord with me, Eric's story. Because I mean, you come across groups of people and when you don't know who they are, you don't know what they're up to. Your mind, I mean, this could have been a bunch of car salesmen out there, people selling insurance that got together for a hot dog roast, for all I knew. But in my mind, they were killer occultists, and they're coming to take my soul. So that's the way it goes. Yeah. By God, we've done it. We've rolled right past midnight on Halloween. Halloween's over. And so when Halloween's over, that's the end of us. We're over too. It's melancholy. Happy trails from your friends here at Conversations with the Darkside. Flack, chime in.
Yeah,
brother.
hold on before you go on. So for people that weren't, like, people that are listening just to the podcast, what did the tarot say? Are we going to be doing the show next year or not?
It seems like we're good to go.
Okay,
now,
good.
The other thing I asked, not so much. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it looked like you were good to go. Check that out if you got a Nintendo. If you feel froggy, I'm sure it's 100% accurate and endorsed by witches and warlocks and occultists everywhere. Before we head out, I want to again reach out and say thank you very much to the people that helped make this show possible. People like Barkbit, who does all the outstanding music. Listen, say what you want about me and Flack, but the music is awesome. Holy smokes, this guy's talented. Check out Barkbit on his YouTube channel of the same name, Barkbit. I want to also thank the Duncan Styles, who did all of our cool animated text and stuff. That's all Dunk. Too dumb to do that stuff, I'm afraid. And if you want to catch Duncan's work, he's working over at This Week in Retro with those boys over there and taking care of them. Trust me, Dunk is the man. Boat took him over to that show right when they started it because Boat knew what he could do. and Dunk takes care of business. And then lastly, for our narrator, Miss Fox, you may know her as the Macintosh librarian, the lovely and talented Kate Fox does all of our call-ins and whatnot, and we appreciate that. She's having a lot of success. We wish her nothing but the best. Flack, tell these fine folks if they need more Flack in their life in the other 11 months of the year, where can they go find you?
Well, you know, I mentioned this, that you could go to robohara.com/links, and that has links to, all my social media, to my blog, to Patreon, to all that stuff, but also to my podcast page. So there's a landing page that has all my podcasts. Now, all my podcasts are, of course, on Apple Podcasts and places like that. But if you want to go look through the old libraries, everything, they're all there. That goes to podcast.robohara.com. And this morning I released a new episode of You Don't Know Flack that's all about Halloween.
Beautiful.
This is Halloween Part 2. I don't like to revisit a topic, but I looked, and the last one I did about Halloween on You Don't Know Flack was in 2013. It's been 12 years, so I figured so that's enough time to go back, and there's been things that have happened since then. About 12-foot skeleton. I had lots of things. So that was a fun one to do. I was hoping that people would listen to it maybe while they're out taking their kids trick-or-treating or something like that.
Yeah, leave it to us, because we're such good planners. We release our Halloween shows directly at the exact second Halloween ends. There they come, everybody. But that's the way it goes. Hey, I just want to do a quick shout out to my good buddy John Buttercar Schaller, who of course really helped me kick this thing off, and occasionally he shows up. He's been a busy boy this year, but I'm sure we'll see him back again next time around. I want to thank the people that keep us going, because having done shows where no one appeared, they're pretty boring. So I want to thank all the people in the chat that show up week after week. They stay up weird hours. All the people that just pick us up and listen to us on their walk home. I got a real nice message from Ravi over to Retro Hour. Said he was really enjoying the show. We come on at weird times from different parts of the world. I saw Huck rated us earlier. Gary Hucker, a good buddy from New Zealand. Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate all the folks down there, but just everyone that jumps in and participates and chats along. Not just this show, but all the shows. It makes us want to do them, because it's fun to just to hear what you have to say, and keeps me coming back. And I'm sure it's the same for Flack as well. So let's close the door on this thing. There's no reason to prolong it any further. This was the 5th season of Conversation with Darkside. By the way, one last thing. If you're interested in getting a full playlist of Conversations with the Darkside, I'd say you missed a couple. The playlist can be a little funky on the Amigo site. So I've set up a special YouTube channel for nothing but Conversations from the Darkside. If you look up Convos from the Darkside, all one word, Convos, V-O-S, from the Darkside, you'll get a complete playlist with every show we've ever done in order, and you'll be good to go there. So just a little housekeeping. I finished putting that together the other night, so it should have every episode after tonight. That's it, everybody. I hope everybody had a good Halloween. Let's get ready for November and then Christmas, and we'll take it from there. From all of us here at Conversations from the Darkside, we'll be seeing you.
You have just experienced Conversations from the Darkside. Until next week, try to enjoy the daylight.